From a closet, also known as the Jim McCarthy Voiceovers World Headquarters Studio, this is the JMVO Weekly Primer. Please subscribe, rate, and comment via jimmccarthyvoiceovers.com/podcast. This is episode 14 of the JMVO Weekly Primer, where this is the podcast you come to for everything good to marinate your mind in. That's what I believe in, is marinating your mind in good stuff. And I try to do that with this podcast. And we're shooting it somewhat early this week for next week's deployment because I'm heading out of town. And I might actually deploy it today. So get it all packaged up and put it out there. Today, I've got a really special guest, as I always do. Great friend of mine. We've been friends since 1997, I believe. 21 years. 21 years, dude. Do you even realize that? Matt Wilson. He's got to have 21 years. He's actually got an old calculator, not even a phone calculator.
No, this is Kevin's calculator. I have no idea who Kevin is. There's nobody who works here named Kevin. Anyway, 21 years. You're right. Continue.
So Matt and I started off in radio back in you were in radio probably in 1995. I was still up and coming, I was still in broadcast school. And you had the in because your dad worked for the radio station. Morning show legend, still on the air in Danbury, Connecticut, Ethan Carey. He was on with Ethan and Scully back in the day, and the guy's been on morning show just staple for the past 150 years. So Matt and I became really quick friends when I started at I-95, the home of rock and roll, 95.1, Brookfield, Danbury. And we've been friends ever since. Big fans of marketing. We've always, we kind of both came up under the same tutelage of Bassman, who introduced us to things like the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing and recent Trout books and all that good stuff. And fantasy baseball. I did fantasy baseball. Come on, man, pull the trigger. So he had the fantasy baseball thing, and I never got into it because I didn't understand it. I got into fantasy football later on. I really enjoyed that because, to me, I think you actually heard me call the game one night, and you were like, dude, what is he saying? Do you remember that when I was actually saying, he hit the ball and he's out?
You're like, he got a hit and he's out. And I'm like, no, that's not, that's not how it's not right.
And I was on the air when I was doing that. That was fun. So, yeah, we go back a ways and always have been talked about over the years about marketing and automotive. And you got into the car business much like I did. I mean, it's amazing how our career paths kind of paralleled each other over time. So starting off, Matt, how are you?
I'm fantastic.
Yeah?
Great. I don't really like the on-camera thing, though. You're talking about marinating your mind. I'd like to marinate my forehead in some hair that moves in this direction.
So, dude, get used to it.
Around here.
Be glad that it lasted that long. But at least you got a good look going.
Need a hat. If I knew we were doing this, I would have worn my better glasses. I have smarter glasses I would have worn.
But you know what? Tell me your philosophies, starting off with marketing and how they developed over the years. Even though I already know, let's fill the people in.
What do you mean how they developed over the years? So, I mean, I don't know. When you start in radio, it all comes back to who you learn from, man. I mean, we learned from the same guy, right? We read the same books, and it's funny how like you read that at the time, like we use the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing as an example, and like someone will say something today, and you'll just like be like, oh, well, you can't focus on everything. You got to pick what you're good at, and that's what you got to focus on. And I can't remember what law it was or what how the rule was written, but you hear it and like, no, that's wrong. We shouldn't do that. I don't know. I mean, to me, marketing is just it's a mix of different things, and there's a lot of people who claim to be experts, and I don't claim to be an expert at all. But it's a mix. You can listen to ideas, and they have comments that pop up on the screen. I was supposed to not be distracted by the comments.
Well, Jim Parr, he said that they have that calculator in the antique store in Franklin.
Jim, can you get me one? Because this one's on its last legs. Send it to me. I don't know. a lot of times my philosophy in marketing is you got to think like the customer. Like you got to think of it from the customer's perspective, right? And I look at a lot of things from like simple things like email blasts. How many emails do you get a day, right? You get up in the morning and you look at your phone and I get an email from Panera Bread, right? Because I go to Panera every once in a while and they built one near me. But you get one every day, and after a while it just becomes like wallpaper, right? And so, but when I get a push notification or an email from Macy's, it's not as frequent, but it's usually about something relevant to me, like it's a sale or I need a new belt or whatever. You pay attention to it. And I guess the point of the story is car dealers will be like, oh, we need business, send out an email blast. But you send out too many email blasts and it becomes wallpaper. People ignore it, right? So here's a quick stupid example. Sent out an email blast a week ago at one of my stores that did a sales event last month that involved a bunch of email blasts, right? So it goes out last week and had 70 unsubscribes right off the bat, which is alarmingly high, right? So, and it boosted traffic. We saw a lot more web traffic, and I think that's going to translate into business this weekend. But from the other perspective, the customer's perspective, you got 3 email blasts from the same people last month, and then you get another one last week, and you don't want to buy a car. You're like, it's clutter. It's in my inbox. Boom, unsubscribe. And now you can't communicate with that person at all going forward via email. So, if you step back and look at it from the perspective of the customer, as opposed to like, the dealer, a lot of dealers look at it from their perspective, which is not how a customer looks at it. So
it's top down.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we got great cars. We want people to buy them right now. Let's tell them about it. And it's like, we got to reach the person at the right time with the right message, as opposed to just trying to jam it down their throats. And then they tune you out or you turn them off and they go somewhere else.
One of the things I preach is, and I hashtag this, you see the hashtag, be them centric. And I always tell people that, when you post on social media, especially on email, where it's a almost borderline permission marketing platform, you cannot force it down. The old techniques of broadcast media, where you can pretty much just force a message onto somebody, you can't do that anymore. You're right. You got to think from the other side and think bottom up marketing. Where are the people going to be? How are we hitting them? Even with this podcast, it's probably not most ideal time for people to be watching this thing because they're getting to work. But hey, this is kind of the way I do it, and they can watch it at their leisure once I deploy it on iTunes and everything like that. So they go out and pretty much absorb whatever you're putting out there, because it's them centric. You got to keep them in mind and ask yourself, would this be the thing that makes me stop scrolling and give you 3 to 5 to maybe 10 seconds of my time?
Yeah. And if you think about your own habits when you're on social media or you're on Facebook or Twitter or reading your email, and think about what makes you stop or read something or click on something, that's how you have to look at it when you're deploying your message. And, I'm the same. Listen, I'm on my phone so much that in the morning, my 1-year-old will hand me my glasses and my phone in the morning. She'll get up and she'll be like, here's your phone. She knows I'm going to check it and see what's up. But, there's only a certain type of content or certain thing that makes me stop that I'm interested in. And you got to kind of figure out what that content is and mix it with what you're trying to sell or what message you want to get across to get somebody to read it or pay attention to it. And you can't, it's not the same thing everywhere you go. It might be something different based on where you live or what you're trying to sell or what you're trying to get the consumer to pay attention to. There's no like set way to do it, but you have to think of it from the other perspective. Just as an example, there's this new, I don't think it's new, but there's the new businesses out there where you can basically go through the car buying process online, right? You can, you go on a dealership's VDP page and you select the car you want, and it will present to you the finance options and the lease specials and the products you would buy in F&I and all that kind of stuff. And you could go through that process online. You still got to come in and sign for the paperwork in most states and everything. But a lot of dealers are resistant to it because it takes away that like negotiating, like the car dealery part of car dealerships. But you know what? It doesn't care. It doesn't matter if you're resistant to it, because that's how people want to shop. So you got to figure out how to get people to shop the way they want to shop, not the way you want them to shop. And I think that, this is, I've been pitched by a couple companies who do this, and I'm into it. I'm into the idea, and there's a dealer in Connecticut who's doing it. And it seems to be going pretty well. It's only like 5% of the people will use that tool on the website, but I think dealers are resistant because they don't want people to shop for cars that way. But that's the way that people want to shop. And so the industry is going to have to come around to it and get on board. But
the industry will come around to it when other dealers start, adapting and doing it that way. And once it's the law of the fusion curve. If you ever look that up, it's actually discussed in great detail by Simon Sinek, who wrote Start With Why and Find Your Why and Leaders Eat Last. He talks about the law of the fusion curve where, typically whenever something rolls out, you've got your early adopters, and then it kind of goes and, you got more and more people onboarding, then it gets its peak, and then you got late adopters. So, down here we have something called Carvana. I'm pretty sure you've heard of that.
I've read some articles.
Their gimmick is to, buy a car from like you're buying something from a vending machine, and you stick a giant quarter. I mean, it's like, okay, it's a little over the top, as you once classically always said, okay, guys, dial it back. So it's really one of those things that it's a little bit too gimmicky for me, right. But their online process is just, and they point out, if the car's got a ding, if it's got flaws, they completely put it all out there. You can go and do the whole thing where you can have the car, downloaded to you, or they can deliver it to you, I think sometimes for free, maybe a little bit more of a charge if it's too much of a distance. But I mean, yeah. I mean, a lot of, I've actually recently, believe it or not, I believe some of the Highline manufacturers are considering this model as a model, where you can pay a certain amount per month, like a lease, and treat it like a rental, meaning that let's say you're paying however much a month, $5.99 a month for a lease. And this weekend you want to go to the Smokies and you need an SUV. Well, you call the dealership up. Hey, take the car that I currently have. Get me an SUV. And then all of a sudden you're done with your weekend. And then Monday, hey, come pick up the SUV and get me my sedan back. Like interchangeable cars.
I think I've read about that. I think it's either Cadillac or Volvo, who one of those manufacturers, one of the luxury brands is trying it out.
BMW, maybe, I think. Yeah. I've heard it from Mercedes is considering that as well. I'm like, that would be interesting. That would be really interesting. And
you read a lot about, I like to read a lot. So I read a lot of the, trade, these guys and these guys and these guys. And they talk about like how millennials, want to see Kevin's calculator again?
That's, it's in, we got to maybe pawn that.
They talk about how millennials shop, how millennials don't, if you look back, like I know all the cars I've owned over the years, and it's always been like fun to have cars. And I used to have old crappy cars and talk to your friends about cars. And it's not the same way like that anymore with a lot of shoppers. And they're talking a lot about what's the next way people are going to shop for a car. And I feel like the auto industry we both come from radio, and radio was way behind digital as well. But I feel like the auto industry is like hanging on to the way that it's always been done. And someone's got to kind of like push a group or push somebody and be like, listen, it's going to change. And who's going to be the one that figures out the best way to do it first?
And it's going to, and someone's going to trailblaze, and then they're going to have copycats and everything. Jim Schultz, he's chiming in and says, I've got a great advertising line for you guys. How about for all your car buying needs? Great, huh?
Schultzy. I love Schultzy.
And that's actually kind of a line from marketers that really back in the day would make us just turn red. Not out of embarrassment, but out of
what if we start off with spring has sprung?
Spring has sprung. The holidays are right around the corner.
For all your car buyers, summer's right around the corner.
Summer's right around the corner. Pool season's right around the corner.
Located just 12 and a half miles south of Stu Leonard's.
Conveniently. And they're family owned and operated since 1826. Multi-generation. That's the benefit of your dealership is the multi-generational aspect too. I mean, father to son and on all that stuff. I mean, that's something you guys really capitalize on. And I think that's something that we've worked on for years, being that I'm the voice for it. So
we actually just did it. We just produced it, and I didn't use you because I did it myself, but we just produced a radio commercial.
It's not as good.
For a 30th anniversary. And we used the old original jingle from the 80s.
The name is Nissan.
Yeah, exactly. And the jingle is, hey guys, want to say hi to Declan here? Come here, Declan. This is Declan. How'd you get tan?
What a great
live podcast here.
Hey,
about radio and marketing.
Hi,
Declan.
I'm going to say your name really cool. Like, ready?
All right.
Declan.
Say it again.
Declan. Oh my! Stop interrupting me.
That's not bad. Get out of my office.
Isn't that a great name? It's the Declan Show. You're on live with Declan.
You need to print. All right, I'll text you. We're live here. You're distracting me. Get out. I got stuff to do. I'm busy.
You gotta love it. Yeah. People are gonna be listening to this going, this is like the worst show he's ever
Sorry,
done.
guys. Hey, can you hear me? Am I on? Can you hear me? Am I here?
Hey, man, I just want to say, man, how you doing, man? We're good. This is what it is.
I'm thinking about starting a podcast.
You should.
And
we talked about that.
My graphic designer made a logo, and it's mostly automotive marketing with Matt Wilson, and then it says a bi-weekly ... ish podcast, because I don't have a lot of time, so I'll do it whenever I get around to it.
You really are starved for time as of late. I mean, you are a hard man to get a hold of sometimes.
I know. It's tough. We're building a house in New Milford, and then I have 2 kids, which is a total nightmare. I don't know why anybody would have more than one child. And then just kidding. And then
the joys of parenthood.
And then
just a total nightmare.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then I handle a bunch of different stores marketing, and then I plan this worst softball team ever. So I'm very busy. So, but here we are. We're trying to do this for like a week.
Hey, we've been trying to get you on for like 2 months. Hey, you want to do it today? Yeah, I'm going to do it today. Great. Oh, no, I can't do it today.
I'm very important pushing documents around. I have all this return mail. It's wasted return mail.
You have the fate of many dealerships in your hands in terms of their messaging. But, getting back to, talking about marketing and things of that nature. And, what else you got?
By the way, this cup, I made it at 6 this morning, and the ice is still frozen. The best cup ever.
That's a tumbler.
Well, not really. It was a knockoff. It was like $10.
Welcome to the most riveting episode of the JMVO Weekly Primer ever. Please subscribe. iTunes, Stitcher, and Blueberry. What's that?
What's Blueberry?
Blueberry is my podcasting host, so it deploys out to. I upload everything to Blueberry. I pay them like $20 a month, and it deploys out to iTunes, and I can put it on Google Play and all that good stuff.
Let's go back to the family owned and operated thing, right? So we used to make fun back in the day of family owned and operated, right?
No.
And so when I first got here, I was like, we're really going to talk about family owned and operated? But I'm like, no, this place really is family. Like, there's a lot of places that, are owned. This Bennett, all of Bennett's work here, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, we used to make fun of it being cheesy, but then I'm here and I'm like, well, maybe I don't think it is cheesy. And then I'm like, am I just deluding myself that I've been saying this kind of thing is cheesy all the time, and now I'm here and I'm like, no, it's not at all. But when you think about the store's reputation and the things that make you different from other stores that do what you do, we all have the same cars at the same prices, right? We're all selling the same stuff at relatively the same price. So what's different is, like, here, family owned, obviously, but our reputation is stellar right now. And, but everyone can say we're family owned and operated if, one guy who's in the family has, worked there or owned the place forever. So what makes it not cheesy in certain situations and what makes it like cliche in other situations?
Well, I think the biggest thing is acknowledging that and explaining why that's important to the customer. Why, and almost doing a campaign or a spot on talking about, okay, yeah, everybody says family owned and operated, and they use these things. They become trite, they become cliche. But let's really drill down what family owned and operated really means. And I think once you start, you identify, it's almost the law of candor, one of the 22 immutable laws, admitting a negative to get a positive, to elicit a positive from the customer. When you go on and you talk about, like in the collision business, I wrote spots that would literally start out saying, look, we get it. We're the last place you want to need. Okay. It's like, collision, HVAC, some of the companies that do HVAC kind of drive me nuts. And it's like, just admit the fact that you are the last guy you want to be called. That.
Yeah.
When my HVAC unit goes out, yeah, I want you to fix it. I have a pain, but man, how much is this going to cost me? Because this is not what I planned for. Just admitting that negative. Yeah, everybody throws around family owned and operated. But what does that really mean? Okay, where are you getting when you have a multi-generational, meaning that some guy at some point decided to get into the dealership business. He pulled himself up by his bootstraps. He struggled, he hustled, he grinded, he got up every single day to build a family, to build a business, to support his family, and then build it into a legacy, attached his name to it, and endured over 15, 20, 25 years. And now he's handing it off to the kids who now have grown up to it in it. And, as I'm talking, all of a sudden it seems more appealing. It makes you want to buy from a family owned and operated company. That's what it means. That's what you got to really translate in a spot.
The other thing too, I'm ghostwriting an article for a top secret website right now. And I was thinking about it yesterday, and I was thinking about you because it's about like the creative process, right? And there's so many like cheesy local commercials out there. And I don't know if I sent you this link the other day. I saw one on Facebook for a dealership in Connecticut, and the idea of the commercial is they are this couple is in the car, right, and they picked up a guy for jaywalking, and it's the people, I don't know if it's the owner or the general manager of the dealership or whatever. They're in this car and they're wearing like badges and they're like cops, and they have a guy in the back for jaywalking, and they're like, with really cheesy dialogue, I cannot believe you were jaywalking. I cannot believe he was jaywalking either. Guys, why did you pick me up for jaywalking? You should get a car. I can't afford a car because I have bad credit. You have bad credit? He said he has bad credit. Like, it is the worst dialogue ever. The commercial is terrible. So I sent it to all my friends to make fun of it. And then I thought, I'm going to write an article about the creative process, about how you get an idea and where it goes from there to a creative session, to the copywriting, to approvals, to shooting it. And I don't know if, I can't believe I didn't send it to you. I sent it to a bunch of people who do some TV stuff, and it was the worst, right? So how does a dealership that has, either an old school, like cheesy agency or no agency, or it's the, general sales manager's job to make these decisions, how do they go through the process and come up with something that's not a jaywalking commercial where the dealers are wearing sunglasses in the front seat of the car? It's the worst commercial I've ever seen. I don't want to say the name of the store, but it rhymes with Barbarino Nissan. So I don't know if you check it out. What was that?
I don't know. You might have, it's an interesting rhyme.
Yeah.
Well, we've all, I mean, we can have countless stories of bad dialogue spots, and, hey, Gene, and they come down and it's like, well, how do I get a hold of them? Well, that's great. 1-800-355-5555. What was that number again? 355, come on.
Yeah.
I remember recording a spot back when the internet was coming out. And this is back when we worked together. I think it was 99 or so. And they put a web address in there. And it was like www.blah, It kept on going. And it was a 30-second spot. And I think that part of the spot took up like 10 seconds of it. I'm like, oh yeah, let me write that down,
I remember Bassman, our mentor, being like, hold on, let me slam on the brakes and jot that down. What was that again?
Come on, man.
And he wasn't paying attention. Yeah. I always wanted to say, just at the end of a spot, be like, just Google it. You're gonna go home and Google it anyway. Why don't I bother telling you our address?
But then put it in, because everybody's thinking that. I'll just Google it. And then that's part of the branding aspect.
Stop yelling at me. I'll do it if I want to.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's what you should do.
Rude.
The going out there and putting stuff like that out there, Roy Williams talks about shotgunning, and he says, he never understood. He's the guy who wrote The Wizard of Ads and on that trilogy of books, runs the Wizard Academy out in Texas, which you should really like. We both should go to that one day. It's awesome down there. Drink wine and think cerebrally with geniuses.
See if I can get Todd Bennett to pay for it. I'm good to go.
And see if he can pay for me too.
Sure.
He talks about how ludicrous it is to target audiences. He's like, on a mass media like radio, like television, he's still a proponent of the mass medias. It is about brand building. It's about storytelling. It is about solving those problems. The biggest thing is storytelling and solving the problems that help brand your business and your product. Because when it comes time for people to start thinking in that direction, you want them to see your stuff and go, I know who they are, and I know the stories they tell. One of the biggest things that I tell, oh, and by the way, we actually put this podcast up. I think I said something like the most brilliant automotive marketing mind in the world on earth. I wasn't talking about you.
When does the next guest join us?
Where's that guy coming from? So I had an idea for a local dealership here that I'm working with, and I told them, look, capitalize on everything on the internet. Make it all about the customer, okay? Tell their story. Tell their story about how great it was to buy from you. Put them together in a car with the salesperson who did the deal, and just tell the story. Have them cut up, have them have fun. You know, every dealership has got those customers that are on fire for that dealership. You know, I think that's a great tactic. That could be a series of commercials easily.
But you got to have the right person in place. Like, I try not to be the person who says, no, that's not going to work all the time. But like, my mind immediately goes to the execution part of it, being like in a dealership every day. And I'll use my store as an example. We have a lot of passionate customers. People have been buying cars here since Bob Sharp owned it in 1985, right? They have a lot of great repeat customers, but you have to have the right person who can coordinate that and who can bring out that personality in a customer, right? Because first you got to get a customer to agree to be on camera, right? And it's a challenge to get people like, hey, can we take your picture for Facebook? Oh, I don't want to be on social media. The FBI's looking for me or whatever it is. People don't want to do that. Then to be like, oh, can we record your audio for a commercial? I don't like the way my voice sounds. Oh, can we put you on camera? And they're like, oh. So you got to have the right person who can talk them into it. And then you have the person like an interviewer or a salesperson or a manager who can like draw the personality out of them. Because otherwise, it's hard to get them to do it in the first place. Then you do it, and then the person's like nervous and stiff the whole time, and the person driving doesn't know like what questions to ask to get the person to loosen up. So you got to have the right way to execute that in the store, which is why you need an in-house marketing person. Call James McCarthy right now at 702. What's your number?
232-8859.
I mean, because that's a great idea, but I could see it being difficult for 9 out of 10 dealerships to execute. You got to have like the right people in place to make it happen.
Yeah, and there's other aspects of that too. I mean, that's a big picture one, but also having the salespeople or even somebody doing walk around videos, micro content videos. Sorry, it's early in the morning here. 8:47. And you have a great team up there that does all your stuff that we've been working with for years. Renato and Alicia Gio, our media, and they do great work.
How you pronounce it? I've been pronouncing it Gio for 7 years.
Is it Gio?
I have no idea.
I always read it as Gio. Oh. Maybe she's watching right now, so maybe she can correct us.
I really don't have any idea.
Phonetic spelling, Alicia. But it's our media, and they've been, I've worked with them, great a husband-wife team, and she actually said, you should totally do an ad with an axe coming through the screen and money flying around.
Definitely. That's a great idea. Yeah. Can't believe we haven't done that yet.
Well, hey, Dave's still young.
That's right. This afternoon. Bring the green screen here. We'll do it here.
But I mean, it's funny, getting back to our backgrounds in radio and, the automotive business, a lot of these businesses parallel themselves. I found a lot of commonalities with radio and the car business because a lot of radio stations don't brand themselves very well at all.
No.
No,
and it's funny. I always thought in radio that I went through discussion back in the day. I always thought in radio that they send a salesperson out, right, who tells you need to advertise and you need to be on the radio and you need to do branding. And the radio person now even will say like, oh, you should mix it. You should do radio and you should do TV. And then they would talk to clients about how important it is to get your name out there. And then the station would spend $0 trying to get their name out there. And you see a radio station, like just in like Denver area, a station will flip formats or a new station will come on the air and they will literally do nothing to promote it except put it on the air. Well, unless someone stumbles upon it while they're scanning through, their channels. Does that look like a toe? My toe thumb?
I see your toe thumb.
Squirrel. Unless someone is scanning through and stumbles upon it, how does anybody know about it? And they're like, you have to spend money to advertise your business, but they don't even bother to put up $1,000 to put a billboard up. So it's like radio stations don't advertise at all, one bit. But then they preach to all their clients they should be. It's very short-sighted.
Alicia says, thanks for the shout out, guys. P.S. Jim said our name correct, by the way, Matt.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
All this time.
Geo.
It's Geo to me.
It's Geo. Come on.
It'll always be Geo to me.
Geo. And you got to say it like that.
I have somebody who calls Ronaldo, and they can't get it right. How did Ronaldo and Alicia do it? I'm like, who's Ronaldo?
The funny thing is that in a couple hours, I'm actually hitting the road to go up to your neck of the woods. And, we're cranking out this last podcast for the week before I do that. And I'm really hoping to sit down with you guys next week and just catch up. Because I don't think I've never met Alicia. Back in the day, back in probably 94, 95, I've met Renato because he and I weren't in the same band, but we used to play the same venues at the same time.
Oh, nice. Did you bands ever get together at the Encore to play Chew on My Sausage or anything? Or was that?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, we've always had great relationships with those guys, and he still plays in the Mighty Plowboys, right?
Yeah, they're good.
I hope I said that right.
It is. It's not the Plogue Boys. It's
not the Plogue Boys.
They're really good. I saw them on the New Milford Green last year, and they're great.
Oh yeah. But I mean, the landscape of marketing and advertising is certainly changing, and it's changing constantly. And I talk a lot about Gary Vaynerchuk. I think I've introduced him to you via concept. To get start. His whole thing is attention arbitrage. Go where people are looking the most. And his whole thing is that get there before the marketers do, because marketers in the end will ruin everything.
Yeah. You got his thing exactly. Find the eyeballs. What are people looking at? Where can you find them? We hopped on Pandora here about 6 years ago, and before that, I had never heard a local commercial on Pandora. So we almost Robin. We invented local advertisers getting on Pandora, because no one was ever on Pandora until we thought of it. And
there's a little Opie and Anthony jibe there.
And because I thought that there was an opportunity for people to be like, oh, wow, this is weird. I hear this business down the road on Pandora. Now everybody is on Pandora, right? And so about a year ago, I had never seen a local commercial on Hulu. So we jumped on Hulu, right? Mm-hmm. And now I'm starting to see, I'm not saying that I'm a trendsetter and that they're all following like my idea. I'm not saying that at all. But now I'll see all these local businesses on Hulu. And the key is to think, where can you be where the eyeballs are, where maybe you stand out? And we talk about it a lot here, myself and Todd Bennett, because if you look at down in Southern Connecticut, there's a radio station called Star 99.9, right? And they're like the big, hot AC station in Connecticut. Huge signal, huge audience. Every car dealer, every manufacturer, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 is on Star. And you could listen for 40 minutes and hear every tier 1 manufacturer and every local dealership within a 15-mile radius. And you just get lost. You get, what's going to make my 60-second commercial that's buried 3 deep in a stop set at 20 past the hour in morning drive stand out from anybody else, right? And the key is to either buy that radio smart or find another place where people have eyeballs and you can catch their attention better. And to me, that's what the challenge is in marketing, especially in automotive, which is such a big segment, obviously, right now, is to find where to be. And then not only that, but what are you going to say once you find the spot to be?
Well, and that's a big part of it. The message is very important. The delivery and the platform is very important. And you bring up a lot of good points, because the next thing will be influencer marketing, which is actually already developing, and even podcast marketing. So getting on a podcast that has a lot of pull and clout in your area, and finding out, okay, well, how much does it cost to advertise on your podcast?
Is this where you're trying to sell me advertising?
Not at all, but I know of a podcast that you can sponsor.
Oh, okay, no problem.
JMVO Weekly Forever.
Let me just give you my card. You can just give me a call. Send me a proposal, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Dude, you are like a David Letterman doppelganger just now. Why don't you just toss it towards the camera while you're at it, or in the back? Yeah, do that. Go ahead. There you go. But, that's very true, where you have a lot of people that are just, looking for podcasts, seeking out those. I think that's probably the next big thing, and finding, and even doing the same thing that Louisville Chevy dude is doing. And I've told you about him before. He's dominated so well on things like YouTube. Okay. I want to say he's probably the most followed guy and has the biggest audience on YouTube. I want to say he's got like 32,000 subscribers. What's that? Bachman Chevy in Louisville, Kentucky. And he's branded himself over the last time. He was on episode 4 or 5, I want to say. I had him on, and we talked about all the stuff that he does. But he's not selling cars locally, not only locally, but regionally and to a certain extent nationally. You know, and he's got a story where he flew out to Vegas for a convention. Somebody out in Vegas found out that he's a Corvette expert. He's like one of the nation's probably leading Corvette experts. So he flew out to Vegas. Some guy found out that he was flying out there, contacted him and said, listen, I'll pick you up from the airport. I want to buy a Vet from you. And we're going to build it. I'm going to give you a check. We're going to get it going. And it's like, you know, he sold a car out of Vegas's backyard just because of his notoriety and his expertise. And he's built up, he's got 7,000 or 8,000 followers on Snapchat.
Jeez.
Oh, I know. And that's like, you know, a lot of dealerships don't think of that aspect of encouraging the salespeople to become businesses themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of salespeople don't think that because, you know, they're kind of myopic. And, you know,
I got to Google myopic.
Oh, you know, singularly focused, not exactly.
You spell that?
MYOPIC. I want to say.
Oh, it's Y.
I think so. Let me know if I'm off on the.
No, you're right.
Let's pause the podcast right now and make sure that I'm right. Am I right?
I don't know. Somehow I came up with nearsighted. Myopic.
You know, you have some. Okay, I'm going to throw another one at you. You got salespeople who are myopic and not long-term thinkers. And then you have management typically, which has a lot of hubris.
Hubris. I've heard you say hubris before.
Hubris. I've worked for a lot of dealerships where the managers have a lot of hubris.
I don't even know. What's the definition of hubris?
Obnoxious self-confidence. You know, just they, you know, they won't listen to anybody else.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, you know, yeah, okay, yeah. Just go sell cars. I know you've done marketing for the past 20 years. It doesn't come from a bitter part of me at all. This experience, but you know, yeah, I had a guy, you know, that's nice. Just go sell cars. Sit over in your office and do your thing.
Yeah.
I know, you know, we don't need your help. That's what we have the agency for. Don't get me started.
It's short-sighted, though. To me, it's short-sighted, and a lot of times, those people, whether it's managers or principals or whoever it is in the dealership, will think about like, okay, Memorial Day weekend is that next weekend? Memorial Day weekend, right? We're going to sell cars Memorial Day weekend. Anything we're deciding to do or any dollar we're spending has to be about selling cars Memorial Day weekend. So, well, what about next month or the month after that or the month after that or when the new models come out in September? Like you got to, and it's the marketer's job to think long-term. But sometimes it's hard because their hubris won't allow them to believe that maybe they don't know the answer to everything. Like, oh, we need to do it right now, and this is all that matters. It's like, well, what about, I'm worried about 3 months from now when traffic stops coming through the door. And I think that it's a marketer's job, an agency's job, dealer principal's job, whoever's job it is, to make sure that you're not only worried about profit for the next 15 days, we're worried about the long-term message and the long-term perception of the dealership in the customer's mind down the road.
Culturally, the dealerships that have a lot of hubris in the management typically have not very good cultures, not very nurturing cultures. On the flip side of that, and I've worked for these guys too, the guys who have the most humility and were willing to try new things and are willing to say, maybe, you know, I don't know it all. I'm a manager and I'm an owner or dealer principal who surrounds myself with people who know better than I do.
Yeah.
You know, and it's people who are smarter than me. Those are the dealerships that typically have cultures that are bountiful, that are creative, that have just enriched, you know, where the leader will, people will take a bullet for them.
To get in between the little thing. Joining us now on the Matt Carey, Jim McCarthy podcast is creative director. Wait, are you creative director or art director?
Creative.
Creative director. I thought it was art director.
Well, remember, because I didn't want anyone to be above me.
All right. Liz Champagne joining us now.
Wow, another great name.
Yeah.
Declan. And Liz Champlain.
Champagne, yes.
There we
She's
go.
going to be providing all the startup money for Champagne Wilson advertising.
I like the way
All of it.
when he's asking for
If
money.
you're providing the money, yeah. I get to work.
Get to work or you're fired.
I get to work or you're fired.
Hubris, myopic. What other big words can we put out there?
Well, you know, you're smart. What's a big word?
For what?
Just a big word in general.
Maybe fabric swatch.
Fabric swatch.
That's almost like a dirty word.
It's not a dirty word. Are we about done here? Because I got things to do.
Oh wow, you want to leave? Well, let me ask you this. Let's what do you marinate your mind in? Because this is what this is all about. What do you listen to, and who influences you in the way of your thinking as of late these days?
I don't really have like one particular. I've tried to get into. Are we really doing this right now?
Isn't that cool?
Can I finish this?
Sorry.
Is that your new couch?
Chairs.
Liz wants to show me the fabric on her new chairs.
Squirrel.
So it's very important to get your team to focus first thing and get down and dirty and just get things the things done early in the morning.
Right.
I personally have a hard time getting into like the motivational like I really, really want to be a Vanderchuck guy. I can't listen. I don't know why. I just can't.
That's good because it's Vaynerchuk, not Vanderchuck.
Whatever. And like Grant Cardone, I downloaded his book and I listened for as long as I could, and I just can't listen. I can't focus. I can't retain the information for whatever reason it is. I cannot. This is a great advertisement, by the way, for your peers in the industry. So, but at the end, no one's going to listen through the whole thing to get to this part of the podcast, so it's fine.
They're okay. If they hear this, they'll be like, "Look, I get it, man. That's all right."
I tried. I want to, and it's mainly because you're the one telling me you got to get into this. You got to get into this, and I can't. I just can't. I try. So I read all the trade magazines that the whoever office manager puts on my desk, and I read a lot of stuff online. I read there's a message board that people share ideas on in the auto industry called Dealer Refresh that I like, and I just talk to a lot of people. And this is probably one of the most annoying things, but most educational things about my job is I get pitch stuff all day, right? I get agencies. I got 2 voicemails from since we've been on here. I get agencies, I get digital groups, I get video people, I get everybody trying to pitch me something.
Voice guys.
My best pal for 20 years trying to sell me something, right? But I find out that the more you talk to those people and sit down and like meet with them or go through their 10-minute webinar, that also is hard for me to focus on, that you actually learn a lot of stuff from that too. Like I learn a lot of information, or I think about things that maybe it would be easy just to brush off because I don't want to be bothered with it. I don't know. So that's where I do the merit. I don't know. That's how I get my info. I can't. I mean, I need medication probably. I can't focus on anything. What?
Let's just caveat. You're not a good focuser.
Liz says I can't focus.
I'm going to ask you a question that apparently was the best question asked to Grant Cardone. His words, not mine. What satisfies you the most about what you do?
Or do you want me to come down and look?
I can't say that again. Liz, on the phone.
What satisfies you the most about what you do?
What satisfies me the most about what I do? I don't know. I mean, I get super excited. I like the creative aspect of it. Like yesterday, we're recording a radio commercial, and we went in with the copy and the idea. And let me guess, he forgot his email password?
No, he wants to make some templates in eerily. I told you yesterday.
My what was I saying? Oh, yesterday, recording a radio commercial, and there was just the typical like radio commercials running on a trade schedule, right? And then like I had a sparked idea that I said to Todd, who owns Bruce Bennett Nissan. I was like, dude, we should put the old jingle in a commercial this summer because it's our 30th anniversary and we're celebrating again in August. We should get Bruce in it and your sister, and it'll be great. And then we ended up rewriting the copy, putting the jingle, finding it in our Dropbox and putting it in the spot. And I was like, oh man, that was clever. The spot came out well. People who have been in the market forever will hear it and recognize it because it's been, that jingle was used for 10 years on the radio back in the 80s and 90s. And like that, like I wanted to blast that commercial everywhere now. I was so proud of like just our last minute switch to it. Mm-hmm. And I think, I don't know, it's corny, but like a well-executed campaign when it's done and when it's on or you get feedback on it, I love that part of it. That's the most fun part of it. Sending out an email blast with lease specials on the last Tuesday of the month is boring, but that's what you got to do.
That's what you got to do because, dealerships are so month to month.
Yeah, but like the long term, like here's what we're going to do, and here's how we're going to execute it for the next 12 months, and then doing it and having it be good is what really makes the job exciting.
The key to a successful dealership campaign is one of a long-term, overarching relational campaign in conjunction with a little strategic, tactical transactional ads. Yeah, that's probably the best way.
Is relational? I don't think relational is a word. Did you say relational?
It is a word.
Is it a word?
Mm-hmm. There's relational and transactional advertising. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you made that up.
Relational is storytelling, getting the customers to think of you over time. And when they need you, the transactional is there to tell them that, here's why to buy this weekend.
Liz says she listen to your voice all day.
Really?
Yeah. I'll give you her number because he calls a lot. So
that's great. You can listen to my voice all day.
That's what she said.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I've been told by John David Wells recently that my voice has been nicely seasoned. And he's like, it's really matured. John David Wells sounds like Mike Rowe. He's great, a great voice. And I'm going, well, thanks, Dad. My balls finally dropped.
All these years.
After all these years, I can go back to listen to my tapes in 1995 and 1997 and cringe.
Oh, it's embarrassing. I can listen to my tapes from 2 years ago and it's embarrassing.
You listen to yourself from yesterday and get embarrassed.
I'm like, oh my God. Yep.
So while I have that, you're talking about people hitting you up all the time. So let me ask you this: how do we continue, getting me back to monthly?
What was that? I must be losing you. I'm pretty sure.
I can see what you're doing. I see you. He's doing jittery.
Did it work?
Nice, very nice. So, JMVO Weekly Primer, Matt Wilson, Matt Carey. I don't know. I can't call you Matt Wilson. I got to call you Matt Carey. Young Matt Carey.
Young Matt Wilson.
Anymore, though. Young Matt Wilson. Thank you for being on with me. It was good. We should do this more often. I think you and I should team up. Both you and I co-host a couple of episodes with like marketing masters. We got to have like Laura Reese on and Al Reese, and both you and I tag team them.
Sure. Sounds terrible. I'm in. I'm just kidding. I'll do it. I'm in.
So,
sign me up.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the JMVO Weekly Primer. Please subscribe at iTunes, Stitcher, not Google Play yet, but and Blueberry. Go to jimmccarthyvoiceovers.com/podcast and pick your poison and subscribe there if need be. Matt, thank you for being on today. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm going to put this back on my camera so the man can't watch me while I'm working.
And he is.